Hello guys and welcome to this week's Switch to Play podcast, and today we actually have real football to talk about. None of this pre-season bollocks, and it is bollocks to be honest. So we're going to get straight into this, but before I do that, I have two people with me, two gentlemen with me. I have Michael.
Hi.
And Tom.
Hello.
Colm is still on holiday, but he will be back when you are listening to this. Hopefully he will be back on the day, so he will be on next week's podcast, and we will be doing a championship preview because of Michael, and Colm will be on that, and probably he'll be the anchor. So this is the last week of me being anchor, so yeah, just click loads of likes and then maybe I can get in another chance. Anyway, let's go into a football. I'm going to start off with one place, the Community Shield. Arsenal 1, Chelsea 0, another win for the Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal made a massive statement there by beating Chelsea, and obviously people have been tipping them for dark horses for the league title this time, and obviously there's no better way to start the season than going and beating the current champions. So I think Arsenal fans will now have a lot more confidence in their team, and they'll be hoping that they can push on and go and get that first place come the end of the season.
Yeah, it was the first win for Arsene Wenger against Chelsea in 14 competitive matches, so it's a big burden off his back, really, to win against Chelsea and Jose Mourinho. So that's quite a big win, in my opinion. It's a very big win, but it makes 3 trophies already for Arsenal. I know 2 of them were pre-season, but I think a year or two ago, everyone was saying about Arsenal not winning trophies for a few years, but now they're starting to win trophies. They've won the FA Cup twice, 2 years, and now they've won the Community Shield. They just need to now push on in the league and try and get that second position, because they haven't been second for 5 or 6 years again. So just gradual progression, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, well, the debt of the stadium, once that got paid off, they made so much progress, being able to spend money and not sell their best players from the previous season, and it's allowed them to kind of get into those kinds of positions where they can be winning the FA Cup, they're going against Chelsea and beating the previous league champions, and it's just, they're making big strides at the moment, and I think they should definitely be contenders for the league in the coming season.
It was a massive thing, paying off their debt, and I think Wenger said now they can buy players, and obviously beforehand they were selling players to their major rivals. If you think of Fabregas, Nasri, to major examples, even Van Persie to Manchester United, those 3 players. But now they're a buying club and they're not a selling club, which is vital for their title push. But I found it quite funny. Jose Mourinho is already on the mind games, and a little dig at Wenger in a post-match with this quote: "We were the best team. We had more initiative, control of the game by having ball possession. Arsenal defended with 10 players. They put everybody in front of their own line, and they had good organisation." So it's kind of a sly dig at this. It's quite ironic, really, to be honest, with Chelsea being quite defensive in the last few months of the season, and now kind of turning it straight away to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think right there, Mourinho's being quite hypocritical of how he usually goes about games, and I think he's been suspect now with, he's been found out that it's all good when your team's winning, but he can't accept when he loses, and sometimes the man games work, but then when he loses, he sometimes says things that he'll probably later on regret.
Well, I think perhaps it could be a bit of a statement of intent in a way. If Mourinho is saying they're defending too much, they're not putting enough into trying to attack and make the game interesting, then perhaps it's he might be thinking of kind of changing his style a little bit. And obviously, the start of the last season, Chelsea were one of the best attacking teams by far. Their attack was amazing, and then it was towards the end of the season that they started to defend and just kind of grind out the games. But I think perhaps it it seems to me as though they're going to do the same thing again. He's going to start the season off trying to play good football and going to try and have like a bright attack and get as many goals as they can.
And now on to the transfers, and I think we have to start. If you've been listening to our season previews, we've talked about Rudy Gestede joining Aston Villa, and it's now been confirmed for £6 million from Blackburn Rovers.
I think he's a good signing. Blackburn. He was a good striker in the Championship last season for them, and I think
he scored more goals than Rhodes, didn't he? So
yeah, and I think he's the type of striker. I think if he comes to Aston Villa, which I think is he going to be the direct replacement for Bentancur?
Well, I've got a quote from Tim Sherwood with me, and he was saying that Gestede is by far the best target man he's seen in British football or in the UK.
Yeah, so
it's big talk from Sherwood.
It could perhaps it shows that he's gone for a player that can kind of fit into the team in a similar way that Bentancur did. He's not planning on changing his tactics to bring in a big striker or anything. He's gone in and he said that he's picked a striker then that's perhaps kind of can play in the style that they were playing in last season, and he wants to keep things in the similar way to what brought them success at the end of last season.
Well, I think going back to Sherwood, he's made quite a good few quotes in the past day or two, and he was saying that they got Gestede for £6 million, and compare what apparently Middlesbrough have bidded for Jordan Rhodes up to £14 million according to various sources. It's a bargain to get Gestede because, like we just said a minute ago, Gestede did score more goals than Jordan Rhodes, so it's an absolute bargain to get Rudy Gestede for £6 million.
I just want to say about Rhodes is since 2009 he scored 20 plus goals in the league. I think it was since 2011 or something. He scored 20 plus goals in every single season, and he's I think what we're paying the 14 million for is more of a guaranteed goals type of thing, because Gestede's obviously not been in the English game for as long as Rhodes, which is probably why he's a lot cheaper, and he's not as proven yet. He's only had a couple of good seasons where Rhodes has had multiple, and I think that's sort of what it's giving up. But when you see obviously Wickham going for 9 million or 7 or whatever it was, it's yeah, I agree with you. It's a bargain, but I wouldn't really compare it to the Rhodes deal, more like the Wickham one.
Well, I'm just saying Tim Sherwood quotes. It's not my view on that. But let's move on to another striker. It's Rickie Lambert from Liverpool to West Brom. Again, we said about I think last week's podcast we said about Rickie Lambert would be on the move, and he's made that move to West Bromwich Albion to link up with Tone Pulis.
Yeah, and on the day he moved, he played the friendly and he got a couple of goals straight off the bat.
Yeah, it was against Bristol Rovers, his former club, or one of his former clubs.
Yeah, and I mean, he's definitely going to get a lot more first-team football in the Premier League, which is bound to get him quite a few more goals than he got last season at Liverpool. So I think he's a fantastic signing for them because he's guaranteed to score goals.
That's that, man.
And yeah, I think he's a relatively cheap signing as well, considering he's going to get them multiple. He's going to be picking up quite a few points at West Brom if he can keep putting in the goals. So I think, yeah, it's a really good signing for him. Yeah,
it's an absolute bargain. I know he didn't get much game time, like Tom just said, but he's guaranteed goals, and for $3 million nowadays, it's an absolute steal, and he will definitely keep West Bromwich Albion in the Premier League next season. And it'll be interesting to see how Lambert and Berahino will get on. I think they could make a formidable partnership as a pair of strikers, but I think Berahino's future is in doubt at the moment. A lot of Premier League clubs looking for him, but only time will tell, I guess. I know I say that a lot in this podcast, but it was all hypothetical at the moment. But I think it would be good for Berahino to stay at West Brom to play alongside with Rickie Lambert. Very experienced forward, and he's experienced at being at a big club already, with quite limited success with being at Liverpool.
Yeah, I think Lambert can kind of, he's had to work his way up, up the leagues to kind of get to where he was, get to a team like Liverpool and have a really good season at Southampton in the Premier League. So I think, someone like Berahino could learn a lot. He's not had too many seasons, while he's been in the Premier League, he's been good, but I think he could learn a lot. He could become a much better striker if he was to be training and playing alongside a player like Lambert.
Yeah, we've said all. I think we're going to go to Stephen Caulker from QPR to Southampton on a season-long loan, and this is a funny story, or a funny transfer, because I swear Stephen Caulker, he's had 2 relegations in 2 successive seasons with respective clubs such as Cardiff and QPR, and again Leo Fair, his record is 2 relegations in 2 seasons with Norwich and QPR, and he looks like he's going to be on his way to Sunderland. So these players are getting relegated consistently, but they're getting moves back to the Premier League. I don't know why. There must be a reason why. So, do you guys have any hints or ideas what could be?
Yeah, I think Stephen Caulker is a very good player. There's no doubt in that. Like, he's solid. Like, he's a good defender. I don't know if it's just like unlucky or the fact that no other teams want him, because he used to play for Tottenham, obviously. But no, he's a good player. And same with Fur as well. I think they're just let down by the rest of the teams, really.
Yeah, I thought that, but there must be a reason why. Stephen Caulker, I think his career has definitely stalled. He thought that the move to Cardiff from Tottenham would have got him, probably an England call-up and regular first-team Premier League football, but it just hasn't worked at all, has it? And when he went to QPR, it didn't work at all again.
His career is definitely going downhill.
So maybe with this loan move to Southampton, it might reignite his career, and I hope so. He is a good defender, but I think he needs a solid base at a club, and Southampton are a very good club, aren't they? Their defence is extremely good, so I think it's a good fit.
Stephen Caulker made his debut for Southampton in a friendly against Espanyol, and it ended 1-1, so he conceded in his debut, but one thing I just wanted to point out about that was Jay Rodriguez was playing and scored a really long-range goal, and I was just going to say I was quite excited about seeing Jay Rodriguez hopefully playing regular first-team football.
Oh, it's great to see him back in a Southampton shirt, because he had that terrible injury that kept him out for the World Cup and all of last season, so it's great to. I've heard he's had a really good pre-season, so he must be raring to go to hit the Premier League on fire really in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I think the injury was so unlucky, wasn't it? I think that if he hadn't got that injury, he might have been right now at a big club.
Well, for Southampton fans, it's kind of good that he got injured in a way, because they don't want to lose him.
No, well, but it'll be great that he's back, and he was great before he got injured, so I think it'll be really exciting to see him back and raring to go in the Premier League.
Now on to 2 Hull players. Let's start off with James Chester first, who moved from Hull City to West Bromwich Albion for a whopping fee of £8 million, and the other player, Robbie Brady, from again Hull to Norwich City for approximately £7 million. So £15 million for 2 players. Steve Bruce will be happy with that business, won't he?
Yeah, I think that James Chester fee's a bit silly. The Robbie Brady one's more reasonable because Brady's obviously a good player, but that's a lot of money for the Championship, and I think they're interested in Andre Gray, but Brentford are asking for £8 million, which is a bit ridiculous for him as well. but it's just a question of whether they want to pay that really.
Well, whole Steve Bruce said in an interview before Brady joined Norwich that they've got to sell to buy. So they've clearly sold Brady interest in now, and now they can bring in or start bringing in players. They've already brought in Palacios on a free. Looks like they're going to sign. They might have signed Ryan Taylor. I think they have, and I think they've signed someone else. I can't remember the name.
From Brentford.
Oh yeah, that's not confirmed, is it?
He's having a medical.
Alright, he might have had it.
They've signed Akpom as well.
Yeah, they've signed Akpom. So Steve Bruce is getting a lot of, not a lot of loanies, but he's getting one or two loanies, I presume. I think Isaac Hayden's joined too from Arsenal also. So I think Hull will be up there, but I mean both of those signings for Premier League clubs, for Chester and Brady, I think that they're good solid deals. Which hopefully for both clubs will keep them in the Premier League. I think we should move on to the Football League or Championship transfers, and we just mentioned Akpom, but just about 5 minutes ago, Am Lafondra has joined Wolves on a season-long loan, and that's a terrific bit of business for Kenny Jackett.
Yeah, last season at Bolton he got 7 goals in 15 games, I think it was. It didn't work out for him at Cardiff, but he's obviously... I mean, he got a lot of goals in the Premier League last time he was there with Reading, and he's got talent, there's no doubt in that, and hopefully he'll be able to get promotion with Wolves and find himself back in the Premier League in a couple of seasons' time.
Well, it looks like Wolves are good price to get up, or to go up this season, and it looks like they've already had a solid squad. Last season they were unlucky not to be in the playoffs, just pipped to the post by Brentford and Ipswich. But the loss of Sacco's huge, isn't it, on a free transfer?
Yeah, well, I think there was quite a lot of people linking Bakary Sacco with West Brom, so that's where he wound up. But it's a big loss for Wolves. But to be honest, I'm surprised they held on for him for as long as they did. You know, he's a fantastic winger, and I don't know, it'll be a loss, but I think the team's good enough to cope without him, and to get... I think they could be pushing for promotion this season.
Yeah,
I think their defence is probably not as good as the teams around them, like Derby, Middlesbrough, Hull, QPR, people like that, but their attacks, like, I think it's probably the best, if not one of the best, like, in the league. So I think if they're going to go up this season, they'll have to rely on their strike force with Lafondra and Afobe, Dicko, people like that.
It's good enough, because Benik Afobe was on fire all last season, and Noah Dicko, he was tearing it up again. So they've got the firepower. It's just defensively they're a bit off, but you know, the lack of quality defenders is apparent with all the high scoring games, and we'll come on to a high scoring game in a bit. Just 2 more transfers abroad. We've picked out 2. Wojciech Szczesny from Arsenal to Roma on a season-long loan, and Stefan Jovetic from Man City to Inter Milan on a 2-year loan deal, but an option to buy. So Jovetic didn't enjoy his Man City career at all, did he?
No, but what I thought Jovetic probably should have got more game time. I don't think they handled him very well, Man City, but because I think the games he did play, he seemed like a fantastic player for them. But at the end of the day, he's gone now, and Inter Milan, and another signing that really strengthens their team as they try and improve on their position last season and be back in the competitive Champions League spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an interesting quote from Jovetic, and he was saying, even when I was fit, the manager wasn't picking me for the squad for the 18 that travelled to away matches, and it seems like he got treated quite harshly. He did have injury problems, but when he was fit, he clearly wasn't playing. I think Jovetic did really waste a couple of years of Stefan Jovetic's career, but that's what it seems like Manchester City are good at, ruining some players' careers or stalling them at least. I think ruin is a bit harsh to say, but definitely stalling is the right word.
Yeah. If he'd have moved to another club, other than Man City, because I think he was linked with like Arsenal or people like that at the time. We could be looking at it now and thinking that's a great signing for Inter Milan. They've got like a 30-goal, 20-goal a season striker, but unfortunately, the 2 years or so he's had at Man City, he's just sat on the bench, not even made the bench, and obviously he's a really good talent player. He's still only about 24, 25, so he has got a chance to get his career back on track, but it's obviously a couple of years wasted that he could have been spending scoring goals.
That concludes the transfers for this week. I'm sure we'll be covering all the transfers again in the next few weeks, and it seems like the transfer window will eventually shut. Seems like it's been open for a good 2 months, but I think it will start heating up hopefully in the next coming weeks. But now we go on to Scottish football. We're going to Scotland again. And this time, I promise you, we won't have an argument about Celtic. But I think we got to start with current league holders. Celtic, they started off the Scottish Premiership this season, and they won 2-0 in the lunchtime kick-off against Ross County. Lee Griffiths was tremendous last season, scoring 17 goals for Celtic, and he's got the first goal of the season, converting a penalty kick in 4 minutes. But it was kind of a typical Celtic display in Scotland, very dominant. Van Dijk looked very good at the back. Didn't have much to do, mind you, but for the stuff he did very well, and it showed their talent in their squad really. With winning, it could have been a lot more, but I think they had 15 corners in the second half, just in the second half. So dominance, but the best game, and it was live on BT Sport. Again, a little plug. In the SPL was Hearts, who Colm supports. They won 4-3 against St Johnstone, and boy, what a goal! What a game! 7 goals, season opener. That is terrific, and that was the first game on BT Sport of the season. So they clearly picked a good match, and Sam Nicholson got the winning goal for the Gorgie boys, and that was their first victory back following promotion from the Scottish Championship. So a really good start for Hearts, and I think they'll have a really good season. They've kept their core players from the Championship, and they absolutely stormed the Scottish Championship last season. They won the league in March. Come on, they actually stormed it. So I think they should be in the top 6, and that would be a very good season. I think they could do what Hamilton did last season under Alec Neil for half of the season, and really get that top 6. But the league leaders are Dundee at the moment. Surprise package Dundee. They absolutely thumped Kilmarnock 4-0. Really poor display from Kilmarnock. And according to, I do follow a Kilmarnock fan on Twitter, and it could have been 5-0 at half time. That's how dominant Dundee were. So to come out with a 4-0 win for Dundee away from home, first game of the season, really good start for them, and maybe they could be the surprise package, and maybe they could win the Scottish Premiership. But I highly doubt that. I certainly do. I would definitely say Celtic title favourites, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think it'd be surprising to see Celtic not top, after 2 more games, to be fair. I think Celtic is still by far, the best team in the Scottish Premiership, so I don't think it's long until they regain their first place position, to be fair. And I mean, there's a possibility that a team like Dundee could steal it from them, but I mean, the chances are just ridiculously high for Celtic to be winning it again, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that concludes our roundup of Scottish football, and obviously it was superb. We do love Scottish football, even maybe Tom and Michael don't, but I do, because they're very disrespectful, as you probably saw and heard in the Celtic debate. But a couple of news stories coming out in the last week, and Di Maria we mentioned him on last week's podcast, and it seems like he is going to confirm his move to PSG. He's currently having a medical there, and the fee is 44 million. So it's a lot of money for PSG to pay, but they can do it, can't they? They're rich bastards.
Well, I think Di Maria, he was still people saying, there were contrasting opinions on whether he had a good season. I think he had a good season for United, but it seems over the recent weeks that most United fans have had the same opinion on him. They've heard reports about him and stuff that he's done being disrespectful to United as a club, and I think they'll be happy to get rid of him if that's kind of stories is true. And although it's a loss, I think the people they brought in this season and the players that they're linked with to possibly replace him, such as Pedro, seem like they're gonna do just fine without him, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, like, Di Maria, when he signed, most players do this, but he wanted to be a Manchester United legend, and he didn't have a bad season. Injuries did halt him for a couple of months, but clearly he's not happy in the Manchester lifestyle, and players before haven't been happy, like Carlos Tevez. He wasn't very happy at Manchester City and United, really. He didn't like the lifestyle. So it's no surprise to me that some players don't fit into the British culture. It is, it does differ, doesn't it? Because Argentina and Spain, their cultures are kind of the same. Both speak Spanish and kind of have a continental feel, don't they?
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between Spain and England as a culture, I'd say. So
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
he just doesn't fit in, and he wants to go to France, and France is a lovely place, and I'm sure he'll he will enjoy his football in PSG. But there is kind of not twist, but Thiago Silva has stirred things up by saying PSG are a bigger club than Manchester United.
Well, I think PSG, it's a bit easier on. I mean, it's become a bit harder for them in the league since Monaco came with a lot of money, but they're still definitely the best team in the French league, and it's a lot easier, I'd say, for them to guarantee a place in the league to play in Champions League consistently, whereas that hasn't happened for United for a season or two, where the teams above them have just been a bit too good and they haven't been able to qualify. But United now have qualified, and it'll be interesting to see how far they get and how far a team like PSG would get.
But our view as a podcast, Manchester United are a much bigger team than PSG. So Thiago Silva's just stirring things up, and a couple of or lots of United fans were arguably pissed off with that comment made in media. But with Di Maria going off, then it kind of opens the door to Pedro to join Manchester United, and his release clause is only 22 million, which is, for me as a football fan, is surprising. I thought it would be a lot higher than that, because Pedro is a tremendous player. He's won the Champions League, he's won World Cups, he's won Euro Championships. He's done it all. He's won it all. So if Manchester United can get him in, that's a terrific signing, isn't it? For 22 million, that's a bargain in these days. It might sound stupid, but 22 million compared to Raheem Sterling going for 49 million, it's an absolute steal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be good. Well, I think Pedro would fit. He'd be welcomed into any team except Barcelona, because Barcelona, they've got Barcelona fans aren't that happy that Pedro's been linked with a move away, but the strike force that they've got, Messi, Suarez, Neymar, he can't ever really break.
They just bought Turan, didn't they, in this summer?
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to be breaking into the first team. So, although he's a fantastic player that most clubs would, love to have and do anything to get, he's just not breaking into that team because of the players that he has to compete with. And I think, I'd genuinely love to see him at United in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and
he would definitely tear up multiple fullbacks in the Premier League, like Alexis Sanchez did at last for Arsenal.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say Sanchez came from Barcelona, and people were saying, can he do it? Can he perform? Same kinds of performances when he's in the Premier League, and he definitely could. And I can only see Pedro doing the same, really. And yeah, I mean, as you said, it's quite a cheap deal. There are multiple sources saying it's going to be done within the next 48 hours. Some people are saying that talks haven't even taken place yet. But I don't know, it's seeming like a highly...
Yeah, it seems like a goer to me, especially if Di Maria completes his transfer to PSG. I'm sure Louis van Gaal will be working with Edward Wood, trying to get that Pedro deal over the line. Maybe, I doubt he'll be ready for Spurs, but certainly for the fixture after Spurs, game week 2.
I'm pretty sure as soon as that Di Maria deal goes through, Pedro is literally going to be on the
plane.
doorstep.
Yeah,
he's going to be
get me over to Manchester right now.
They're not gonna mess around as soon as that deal goes through, and I think where some clubs find it hard to wrap them up, I think this is one we're just going to see. It's almost instantly just go straight through. It shouldn't be too difficult with the. I imagine they're going to just meet the release clause.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that it will make it a lot easier with that. If they meet that release clause, then he's off.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, it would just be an incredible transfer for United and a really good player to have.
And that concludes this week's episode of Switch to Play. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope this isn't too long of an episode. We're trying to make it a bit more condensed to make it more watchable, and because obviously we know that people don't have an hour's free time, so we're trying to keep it under to 30 or 40 minutes. But just a few little plugs before we go. Our Twitter is @SwitchToPlayYT. Our Twitch TV is Switch to Play Podcast, and we will be streaming this Friday for the Nottingham Forest versus Brighton game. I just can't wait till the football season starts, and I'm sure Tom and Michael are the same.
Oh, absolutely. It's just the countdown now, isn't it? As you said, pre-season, other than the transfers, there's not a lot you can take from it, and as soon as the Premier League starts, I think, just can't wait, really. Good.
Yeah. It'll be only 3 days when this comes out, hopefully. So, it's a bye from Michael.
Bye.
It's a bye from Tom.
Goodbye.
That's a bye from me.